Good evening, Hawks fans. What a weekend it has been. Winning our first final in a very long time, getting over the Bulldogs by 37 points at a absolutely packed out MCG on the Friday night. Nearly 98,000 there, and I don't think I'd be wrong if I said there was probably 80% Hawks fans there. It was so loud. It was one of the best nights I've had in a long while. Chris, you were at the game as well. How did you find it?
Yeah, it was electric. Definitely the loudest I've heard the Hawks support at the MCG for a long time. So it was really good to have that atmosphere and support for the boys. And I guess I think it wasn't too much of a surprise for us. Nobody wanted to play the Bulldogs. They were looking real dangerous leading up to finals. But yeah, it was interesting that first little bit. But we got through that little battle. Where'd you sit, Loz?
I was M12, I think, so about 2 or 3 bays over from all the awesome guys and girls with the wizard hats on.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so nice little spot there on level 1. Really good to see the game from that ground. I know it was tricky for a lot of supporters to get tickets, but yeah, lucky to snag one in the end. So yeah, awesome night, and hopefully a lot of you guys in the chat were there. As we normally do, we'll get to as many questions and comments as you give us in the chat. So make sure you are filling that up. Wow, I mean, it's still hard to get over. Still doesn't even feel real that next week we're playing in a semi against Port, who didn't look too flashed last week. So we're coming in favourites. I know we've had the Frost news come out tonight, which we will get to later on, because that can be a whole conversation itself, that Frosty news. But let's focus on this win first, because let's chat about it. What a win it was.
Yeah, we all got off to a bit of a shaky start, didn't we? They got on the scoreboard first, and we were just sort of, I was sitting in a Bulldogs bay because I sneakily clicked Bulldogs when my ticket selection. So it was a little bit awkward at the start, and then I was pretty vocal, and they were getting a little bit upset. But anyway, it was good. That wind really played a big part in that first quarter, I felt. A few of our kicks were getting held up and just didn't quite come off the boot right. But I thought it was a really good effort. We drew the quarter up until the last few minutes where they kicked a couple of late goals, and I was just getting a little bit worried. And then, that second quarter, or the second half of that second quarter, we really established control of the game, and I was really confident from that point on.
Mm-hmm. When we played the Doggies earlier in the year, where we did beat them as well by a slimmer margin, they did kick the first 2 or 3 goals, and it looked like it was going to be a rough day for us. But after those first 5 minutes, we really were quite strong, which is why I wasn't too nervous when they looked on top of us early. But yeah, just a massive game. Let's start getting into some of these players. I mean, who do we start with? I mean, it's got to be these two, doesn't it? Watson and Dia. They just rose to a massive occasion. You wouldn't put it past them to say, first final, it's hard to get involved, especially in their positions as a tall forward and a small forward. But the way they contributed to this team and really lifted us is, absolutely amazing.
Yeah, no, I couldn't be prouder. And like you said, you could have easily made an excuse if they didn't get up for the occasion. But yeah, they did not hesitate. And they were a big part of why we come away with the win.
Mm-hmm. I mean, let's go specifically on Kalsha Dia. We know the story as Hawks supporters. Many of us thought maybe he wasn't going to get near it for a while, near AFL level. A late pick, I think it was in the 40s. So to see him rise to this occasion, it's just one of the great stories of the year, and even non-Hawk supporters are saying that too. That goal from the sideline, that one-handed mark. He missed his first shot on goal as well, which you could think he could get in his head about, but when he chipped that one off the ground, soccer style, in the goal square, not many can do that as a tall forward.
And he hit the post twice as well. So, that 3 goals 4 could have easily been 5-6 goals. Phenomenal. That kick from the boundary. Oh, that was insane. Yeah, lovely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the crowd absolutely roared for that one, as they were all night, as Pat said here. Yeah, just the atmosphere, electric. electric. Good to see, all the Hawk supporters out there. And luckily, I was in one of the bays surrounded by a bunch of Hawk supporters, so that was good to link up with them and get the boys over the line. But another one, I mean, we saw Watson. We said Watson before, but more onto his game. I mean, he had an interview after the game when they did question him about his goal kicking issues at the start of the year, which we all were there to see. But he said he knew it would come. It would come at some point, which is what Daz and I and lots of us here thought when he was getting touted by opposition supporters and even Hawthorn supporters as being a mispick. Even only a handful of games in, he just absolutely proved everyone wrong. And when he said he knew his goal kicking would come, it came, and it's come weeks before this, but he really highlighted it on the big stage.
Yeah, he just doesn't do much wrong, does he? He's so electric out there and creates so much for us. Absolutely loved his game. The Wizard. How good is the hats? The Wizard hats, and even what's his name? Kane Corn's getting involved as well. That's good to see.
Yeah, I did see that. You can't help but love him. I think, especially as Hawk supporters, maybe opposition supporters aren't going to be the biggest fans of him in years to come when they tear their teams apart. But he's just an awesome pickup. Absolutely justified to bring him in at the start of the year and got that X factor to lift the whole side around him.
Yep, absolutely. Another one, well, quickly, just spotted that one. We'll flick over to Josh Ward. I thought he had an awesome game, especially having a little bit of time at Box Hill and I guess his first final as well. Thought he was awesome and nearly included him in my votes. 9 tackles. I think his previous best was 6 and just made really good decisions with the ball. Especially, I think there was a little chip. Was that to Jai when he had a shot? Anyway, I'm really impressed with his game. Absolutely.
Yeah. When I first heard the Mackenzie news, I thought maybe they might go Ward a sub. I was thinking maybe that's what they could do. But when you looked at the makeup of the side, we couldn't. We obviously needed that fourth midfielder because I don't think McGuinness would have been necessarily strong enough to be in there for the entire game as Wardy was. But as soon as he was selected, I still saw a bunch of Hawthorn supporters going against him, saying, "Oh, why are we bringing Wardy and what is this for?" When really, at that point, you've got to back him in, and that's going to come into our conversation later when we talk about, who's going to come in for Frost. But you've got to back the player in regardless. And, we haven't seen Josh Ward play 50, 60% CBAs in a very long time since he first started playing. So for anyone to think, he was going to be an absolute write-off regardless, when he's been playing on the wing and half forward, which is not his natural spot. If you watch any of the Box Hill games, you can see what talent this guy has. And to prove it in a final in the midfield against a midfield that is arguably the strongest in the league, I mean, absolutely wrapped for the guy. Absolutely wrapped. And hopefully, next week he just backs it up.
Yep, and I think you mentioned in the MVP, like you said, one of the strongest midfields, but 2 All-Australian candidates.
This year, and
won that midfield, really.
An All-Australian ruck in the past as well with English. And Libba, who Daz said is one of the most underrated midfielders of the past few years. But we've got one more man to add to the stream tonight. I know he's not feeling 100%, but he has shown up for us, which is good. Give him a bit of love in the chat. Mitchie, how was your night on Friday?
Oh, like the rest of the Hawk supporters, I think. Pretty good. Was expecting potentially a win, but probably not in the way we did it. So that was good. And, was lucky to be there enough, which was good fun. And 98,000 there, and it was funny watching all the dog supporters leave just after 3/4 time. And good to get the win. See what happens this week.
You're about talking about that midfield, so we'll segue to Meeky. Mitch, you want to go first with Meek?
He just keeps getting better and better, doesn't he? I thought he might have his hands full a little bit with English this week, but no, took him to the cleaners, as the comment said. I was thinking, a lot of the experts were saying that it was going to be one in the midfield, and I probably thought, okay, without Will Day, if we just match it with him and sort of halve the contest, then we'd be okay. But obviously that all starts with Meeky, and a big reason on why we were able to do that was from the big man's presence. And, he has had some year.
Yeah, absolutely. I was one that was pretty confident coming in. I've been, watching Tim English. I mean, had him in Supercoach if anyone is into that. But yeah, been watching him, and he is this new ruck rule has really the one that saw Reeves kind of be pushed out of this team hasn't helped him. Hasn't helped many of the slightly smaller rucks in terms of their frame. So yeah, it was really great to see Meek get that semblance over English, which a lot of people backed in, and yeah, as you said, just keeps getting better and better. And I mean, as the cliche goes, really the sky's the limit for that bloke.
Absolutely. What are your thoughts next week? We'll keep talking about the players, but just quickly, what are your thoughts next week?
We'll win.
Yes, love it.
Port too slow. Frosty's a big out, obviously, but yeah, I don't see it being a massive deal against the Port thing, against the Port's forward line. Charlie Dixon probably not going to hold his spot anyway, so that's probably who Frost would play on anyway. But yeah, I think we're too quick. Take it 1 week at a time. I was going to progress to Sydney there, but let's just take it 1 week at a time. I'm backing this in.
Oops. That one.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah, I agree with this comment. If Meek's the number one guy, if he's out, that would be a massive, massive issue for us. Yes, there's players like Newcomb and Sicily, even Kalshadir now in that forward line. That could be a massive issue for us if they're out, but no, none bigger than Meek, because unfortunately, yeah, we just haven't seen the best of Reeves this year, and luckily Meek has stood up in his place, and yeah, just so important.
Yeah, absolutely. I will, now that we do have a few people here, as you all would have seen, the prices of flights going to Adelaide go through the roof in one of the Hawks groups, which was Everything Hawthorn. Somebody has offered bus trips over to Adelaide, which I'm looking at doing. And I cannot find. Have I clicked on the wrong thing? Here we are. So, return trip to Adelaide, departing from Clayton for all those in Victoria, leaving at 6 a.m., return at 1 p.m. Saturday, $120. So, we're just looking to get that bus filled. Otherwise, it won't happen. But yes, anybody interested in that can contact Danny and yeah, sort that out. So, get on board. Let's get over there and support the boys.
Yeah, would love to get a nice contingent of Hawks supporters over there. Adelaide's, the Port's their 23rd player is really that crowd, especially when they get up early. We saw what happened with Geelong on that Thursday night, where they really took the crowd out of it early by kicking the first few. So let's do the same and make sure we've got a nice few Hawk supporters there to give us some cheers when we hopefully get on top. I think someone we haven't talked about yet is the captain himself, James Sicily.
Geez,
what a game.
Wasn't he good? Him and Scrimmers definitely led the way down back, but Sicily, especially his first half, was just enormous. Yeah, it just looks like he marked everything, and I mean, it was always going to come down to the midfield and then how we played the talls. And I mean, between Jamara and Norton and Darcy, they had very little impact, and Sicily was a big reason why, along with Frosty and Scrimmers. But real captain's performance in a first final.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he did his best work when the game was on the line in the first quarter and a half. As you'll see in the MVP vote should come out tomorrow, so keep tabs on that on your socials. He was huge, and captain. The other thing that I really noticed, I had a bit of argy-bargy on the boundary line after an incident, and was happily shoving. So I think you pointed out, Lauren, his shoulder looks in pretty good nick. So
that extra week off seemed to have helped him a bit. He looks really nice and fit at the moment, which is good. So yeah, we love seeing Prime Sis, and it doesn't look like the shoulder's bothering him at the moment. And we love to see him going back with the flight and taking intercept marks again. So yeah, just a captain's game on the ground. You could really tell what he was doing as a leader, pointing out, keeping, ensuring that backline keeps its shape, which it did really nicely against the Doggies, who have, a very, very elite forward line that can go really well, but didn't on Friday.
Yeah, I don't think like everyone said about his shoulder. His shoulder's been bothering him the last few weeks. I think it's gradually gotten better. I can't remember who he tackled, but he laid a really important tackle in the first quarter, and he sort of got
Yeah.
up and sort of went like that. I thought, oh no, don't tell me he's re-aggravated it, but he didn't seem to really stress again for the rest of the game. So I would think that it's okay now, and certainly didn't show any signs backing back into packs on Friday night. And Paul's just pointed that out. Yeah, there was a moment when Sis grimaced, but I don't think it's a bigger issue as what it might have been 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, exactly. It's just unbelievable how strong this backline contingent has become. They've, been undersized all year, and for them it's with help of the midfield and the forward line and the team defense, because we are conceding the least amount of inside 50s. But for them, to stand up, I mean, I know we will talk about Frosty soon, but he was the one who, I think he played nearly one of his best games, like taking intercept marks. I know he's had one or two kicks that were a little bit iffy, but hey, if that's, the biggest knock on him, and he's still defensively playing elite, there's not much you can say about it. But yeah, Scrimshaw, Weddle, I know Weddle was a little bit quiet, but defensively he worked really hard. So yeah, just love this backline at the moment.
Yeah, you point out Weddle, maybe a bit quiet, but got ignored a few times, presented a few times on a few bursting runs, and as long as he's doing that, he'll get more of the ball. But I mean, if somebody sees a better option down the ground, well, I can't blame them for backing themselves in and kicking it. But Weddle had a solid game in defence, I think.
Yeah, I think like there was just a few others that stood out ahead of him. I don't think he had a bad game. He just probably wasn't as prolific as what some of the others were. Scrimmer, Frost, Sicily. Don't think it was a knock on him. He just didn't stand out quite as much. We were all asking in our little section for Hawks fans in up in Bay Q56, up in level 4. We were all asking for him to go for a run down the wing, and there was a couple of times that it looked like he was going to. But I don't think he was bad. He just wasn't quite as prolific as what some of the other guys were.
No, exactly. And maybe we can have a quick chat about some of the guys who are a little bit quiet. Unlike Maury to have a quiet game, I guess, to his standards, it was quiet. It wasn't a terrible game at all, even in the slightest. But I don't think we're going to see Dylan Moore have 2 quiet games in a row. So he'll be up and ready to go next week. That's for sure. Another one, maybe we'll hear from you, Chris, about Choli. And had a bit of an almost game. Just dropped a few insane marks that he could have taken. Missed that goal, which was a little unfortunate. But yeah, just had a bit of a dirty day, did Choli. Not to a lack of trying, but yeah, just a bit of a rough one. What did you think, Chris?
Oh, yeah, like you pointed out, wasn't his best day. But at the end of the day, he still played his role. He still chased. He still went in the ruck, presented. And to be honest, there were several occasions where he didn't actually go for the mark and he tried to tap it to the advantage of his teammates. Yeah. Or he left the ball, which then Watson ran onto. So, he's just an easy target when people want to come to bully somebody that hasn't performed their best. But I didn't think it was that bad, to be honest.
No. I just saw a few. So close is probably the word. But yeah, I think, as we said, he could, that Port Adelaide backline struggled a bit last week, and would like to see Choli, tear him a new one this week. And as you said, he's been really well, going really well in that ruck, even against the likes of Darcy and English, who I know slobs themselves.
I think Joel admitted it himself post game that he had. I think he said he had butterfingers. But look, he didn't clunk really anything. But at least what it does do is it does bring it to ground. He does bring it to ground, and he makes a contest every time. So it wasn't his best night. Let's be honest, he was probably one of the few Hawks that sort of didn't perform himself. But he's still playing a role. He's still bringing it to ground. There was fans in our section that were telling sub him off, but you take him off and we're too small. And
exactly.
He's at the very least, he's providing a contest. He's bringing it to ground for the Mosquito Fleet, and then they can do their work. He'll know himself that he probably wasn't quite his night, but he's still playing a role, and it wasn't his best night. But
Mhm.
It's not the end of the world.
No, you did mention the less productive players, or however you phrased it, Loz. But I think there was only 4 Hawks who actually got under 10 touches on the night, and 2 of them being the sub off Gunston and the sub on Bruce. And again, Gunston sacrificed himself on several occasions to the team. So as far as non-contributors, there really wasn't any on the night. Even Finn McGuinness, I thought he had a fairly solid game. So what was your take on Finn's game?
Yeah, Mitchell, you go for this one first.
Yeah, solid. I've had my doubts about Finn, especially if there's not a lockdown role for him. Might have been a little bit annoyed that he was playing week 1 originally, but no, he was really good. He shut me up, to be honest. I thought he played well. It's probably the best game that I've seen him play that he doesn't have that sort of lockdown role. I didn't really see him sort of go to anyone in particular. And yeah, I thought he looked good. Alongside him, and the sort of the 2 that I was interested to see would be Finn and the HMO, and I thought they were both really good, Finn included. So will be interesting to see what happens this week if he retains his spot. I did see some comments before about Will Day if he comes back in. For me, I think Finn's probably the one that misses if Will Day's fit, but. No knock on his game. I thought it was probably, at least aside from obviously his role on Dacos last year, in terms of a role that he's played that's not that lockdown tagging role, I thought he was very good.
Yeah.
Well done. You've eaten your words, mate, because I know you're not a huge fan, but good on you for saying that.
Yeah, no, I think McGuinness, he played an interesting role for me, was a bit kind of everywhere, whether he played a little bit on the wing, a little bit half forward, a little bit half back, like to be kind of thrown around a little bit, not have that distinct role and still be able to perform. I thought, yeah, it was really good. He was very consistent. And as one of the messages mentioned before, he's kind of one of those guys like Ward and Morrison who are, fringe players, but they did not play like fringe players on the weekend, which is what you want to see.
All right. Do we touch on anyone else? Maybe we'll get the Duke in there because you can't. I can't believe we've waited 22 minutes to talk about probably the best player on the ground.
Yeah.
Just rose to the occasion, didn't he? As we talked about Day being out. Doesn't get much better. 35 touches and a classy goal. What can't he do?
Yeah, John Newcomb, built for finals, built for September, was clear and away the best midfielder on the ground with the likes of Bontempelli, Treloar, Libba, Richards, all of those absolutely took him to the cleaners, was so strong. What a game. And what a goal that was as well. I mean, Meek and Newcomb's connection this year has been absolutely one I want to see all the time in that, in our forward 50. Just what a superstar this guy is. Best mid, yeah. I mean, not even close. No one can come close to Newcomb for that. Mitchie, what's your thoughts on him?
I think he was clearly best on. Probably at halftime, I probably had maybe Scrimshaw just ahead of him, but I think by the end of the game, it was definitely Newcomb that obviously stood out. That goal, I think even he was surprised that he kicked it. To be honest. The look on his face when it went through when he was celebrating was, I can't believe I kicked that. And now I think that put us in front for the first time. So, we said it in the 6 points leading up to it for the North game. Daz and I, we said, and we covered it on other Talking Hawks channels as well, if we were going to win the game, we needed to at least halve it in the midfield, and Newcomb was going to be a big part of that with no Will Day once we knew that he was out. Did he step up? I mean, 30 possessions, whatever he had. I can't remember his stats, but I think he's played a lot of good games for us. But I think in the context of the season and what that meant, first final, probably our best player out of the side. I can't think of a game that he's played that's been better than that.
Or maybe 40 touches in Tassie for his 100th. Was it his 100th? 50th, I think. Sorry.
Yeah, okay.
That'd be close. That'd be the only one I can think of that rivals his performance on the weekend. I will just quickly throw this promotion up again. And I think you missed it, Mitchie. I reckon I'm going to jump on a bus to Adelaide. So, anybody looking to get to Adelaide who doesn't want to pay for flights, I'll leave that scrolling for now.
Yeah, wonderful. I mean, that midfield's working really well. And that day being out, that's always going to be an issue for us. But they really took stood above that, and ruling Will Day out early in the week was, I mean, I'm not behind the four walls, but I feel that has to be key. Same as Frost being ruled out this early now. And I think we'll probably learn tomorrow or Tuesday that Will Day's probably ruled out again, unfortunately, because he's not looking ready at training, but which is really sad for him. But getting that news out early, not just for us as supporters, but for them as players to go, okay, we don't have those guys, but what can we do to make up for it? And they absolutely stood up in the wake of poor Daisy missing our final series so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Just saw a question from Craig about the crowd. I think Lauren and Chrissy were both there, I believe. I probably thought it was 60-40 our way, maybe 65-35 our way. I know for sure there once all the Doggy supporters started leaving about 10 minutes after three-quarter time, that there was still a lot of people there. And they'd separated a lot of the bays into Doggies and Hawthorn, and you looked around, especially on the top level, and you looked around and it would be full and then mostly empty, and then full and then mostly empty.
Yeah.
Interesting to hear your opinion, but I do think we had the numbers advantage, slightly. I'd probably say 65% Hawthorn, 35 Doggies.
I would hazard a guess at maybe even more, 70 to 80 is what I was thinking, but it could have been just the noise that was so loud. Even when we were down in that first quarter, when Meekie kicked his first goal, I mean, I know I was surrounded by Hawk supporters, but the roar was enormous. Chris, what was your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I probably would have been in somewhere between that 60 to 70 mark of fans over the Doggies, but I do have to give a shout out to Mitchie because I sent him and my kids prediction on the crowd size, and Mitch, he called what do you call 97,000?
97,423 or something, and it was
within about 500 or something.
Yeah, it was not. Chris was really low, and he said below 90. I was like, mate, there's no way it's below 90, and I thought I'd go over. Yeah, I think it was 97,828, and I was about 97.4, so it was a good guess.
I'm gonna say there was a lot of standing room tickets because there was a lot of empty seats up high. I felt anyway. Well done, mate. Well done.
Yeah, well, it was good. One thing I would like to hear in the comments as well, guys. I want you to answer this for everyone watching, but Lauren and Chris, what were our thoughts in two parts of the game? First, in the first 5 minutes when they kicked the first goal within 30 seconds, and then probably should have kicked the second one as well that actually got taken off of them, where we're thinking, oh no, they're on, we are not. And then again in the fourth quarter, after Bont Stream has kicked the first goal of the quarter to get it back just slightly under 5 goals, 29 points, I think it was. Mm-hmm. And then he streamed out the middle, kicked it, and what looked like he was kicking to the end that I was on, and what looked like was going through for a goal. My heart was in my mouth. I was like, oh no, we've dropped 2 5-goal leads at three-quarter time this year. Is it going to happen again? Was anyone as nervous as I was? Lauren, Chris, and anyone in the chat, was anyone as nervous as I was?
So let's go part one, which I did say at the start. When they kicked the first goal and, Nelly kicked the second, I was not too nervous because, footy's a long game, and the last time we played them, they kicked the first 2 or 3 and we came over the top of them. In the last quarter, man, so I was still nervous with 2 minutes to go, which is just, my head and what happened after that Port game. But I was messaging my dad because I couldn't get much service, so I couldn't go on the AFL app and see how long was left. But after every 30 seconds, I'm like, time update. I need to know how long is left. But I think once we kicked that goal, who was it that kicked our first goal of the last quarter? Was it Deary or no?
Not sure. I know Guinea kicked Guinea kicked the first one of the. Maybe the second of the first quarter of the last quarter. I think it might have been.
Yeah, Guinea. Yeah, okay. If it was, as soon as we kicked that first goal, I knew it was going to be really tricky for the Doggies to come back then because, it's not like they had all the momentum anymore. We kicked that one and we just needed a goal to settle and Guinea came in with that, which was good. What about you, Chris? Were you a bit nervous in that last quarter?
Yeah, like I said, two-part question. Yeah, early on, I was a little bit concerned, but we quickly sort of arm wrestled back to a sort of even status. But yeah, that last quarter was a little bit. Bond had a huge quarter, and I just thought, don't know. I just said to the kids, I said, as long as we score 1 or 2 goals, we'll be right. And then said we settled those nerves and got one back on the board. So yeah, now I was like I said, halfway through the last quarter when the Bulldogs fans are leaving their seats and exiting the stadium, like, it was game over.
Yeah, it definitely helped when the bay next to us pretty much emptied out after that Jim goal. Okay, cool, we're home. But I'm glad to see from both of you and to see a lot in the comments that everyone else was the same, because I was going, surely we've learned with GWS Port, surely we've learned. And I knew as soon as one goal and that was it. It was over. And Guinea was able to do that with a pretty good celebration too.
Yes, exactly. I know that's been talked about to a major extent in the media. We've got articles talking about it, then articles responding to how the media talked about it. It's a bit of a, but we know that doesn't bother Guinea, and he showed that with his pretty cool celebration after that one. Good to see him get a goal, because I love to see what celebration he pulls out, which I heard from I can't remember who I heard from, but someone, one of the players said that Guinea just goes with the flow, does whatever celebration that comes to him. We've got a few others like CMAC who likes to plan those within the week. And I know Charles' celebration, jumping over Watson, sounded like something they'd been planning for a while, which was unbelievable to see at the ground. But yeah, I love the celebrations. I'm glad that Mitchie and the club's embracing, Sam Mitchell's embracing it, because it's obvious that they're having fun, and when you're having fun, you play best.
I did feel the media went a bit hard, and it was a little bit unnecessary to go that hard. And I think he even chucked in a sneaky picture of his bed as well that night.
Yes.
I thought it was a nice slap in the face to the media. So I thought the celebration was fantastic.
Yeah, they definitely went overboard with it. I mean, that's the media, they do it. But if he had gone out to a steakhouse or a Chinese restaurant or a Indian restaurant or just any proper restaurant instead of a pub, would anyone have cared? Probably not. They wouldn't have even wrote an article. It was just because he went to a pub for dinner. It's 2024. Like, he was home by 9 o'clock. He's not drinking. Relax. He's out with his mates. Probably had a Palmer and went home. Like, who cares?
And I thought Sam Mitchell's response was brilliant. He just basically
he goes, half the side probably went out for dinner. Like, don't try and make a story out of nothing. Like, if he went to the pub and he went the next day and had an absolute mare and was the worst on ground and cost us the game, okay, maybe rethink your approach. But who cares? It's a non-story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Sammy's really he's one of the great talkers as a coach. Like, whenever he goes on AFL shows like 360 Classified, he's a really great talker, and I love to hear from him because he's so honest and knows how to explain things really nicely to us supporters and the media who are, especially at the start of last year, were not his big fans that they are at the moment. So loving what I'm seeing from Mitchell at the moment. One guy we haven't talked about yet was Massimo. I know a lot of comments have come through about Massimo, but just another, 32 disposals, I think it was. But I know we can only say what an insane pickup, but just the fact that it's Essendon makes it even better. So, let's keep bringing it up, shall we?
Yeah, absolutely. He had a huge game, and again, for another young player, just to step up without that finals experience and just continue the same, playing the same as what he's done all year. You can't ask any more. He had a great game.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, well, I think I've said this a few times, and I think Daz has said it as well, but we're running out of superlatives to describe this bloke. Seriously, there's a few of them as well. Meek's probably one of them, Newcomb, Day, all that. But, I mean, if he can stay in anywhere near the form that he's had this year, and potentially even if he improves, but if he improves, look out, he's going to be the best wingman in the comp. But anywhere near this form, and it's going to be the steal of probably the decade, really, for what we got him for. Just crazy. He had something that we really needed, and the Bombers will be looking at themselves and just going, why did we get rid of him? But we'll happily. Daryl's just pointed that out as well. Yeah, the Bombers fans must be wondering how the club let him go, but it's almost like they really need a fast, lethal left boot. It's really efficient, and it's almost like they need someone like that in their team, and they had one right under their nose. But hey, their loss, our gain, and we'll take it all the way to the bank. So he should have been an AA. He's not. Hopefully next year.
Yeah, we'll get Sicily was the same, should have been AA in 2022, got the revenge All-Australian in 2023 and made the squad this year, which is another awesome achievement. So, yeah, fingers crossed for Massimo. But if you remember back at the start of the year when he first came over to the club, and in one of his first interviews, I think he talked about how he wants to be as good, if not better, than the two best wingmen in the league at the time, which was Josh Dacos, who was a premiership player and best and fairest in a premiership year, and Goulden, who was an All-Australian and, again, All-Australian this year as a wingman. And, I mean, that was probably put in a few places being like, oh, come on, this guy wasn't even getting a game at Essendon. Like, what? How's that even possible? But you just got to set your goals, you set your intentions, and he did that. And he's easily in that conversation, definitely had a better year than Dacos. But, Gordon's one who's, a very elite wingman. And it's probably a lock for the All-Australian squad for the next 5 years, as long as he keeps showing up, because he's got that. He's the only one, that midfielder, who also plays on the wing. But, yeah, I mean, I just love what Massimo has proven. And to show up, on a final, I just love it. Love him. Love how composed he is. And, yeah, as you said, that left foot, just love having the ball in his hands as a supporter.
I think we had eyes on him for the mid-season draft when I think that's how Essendon picked him up. So we've been watching him for a while, and when he didn't get his opportunity, we've just pounced, and what a bargain. Same as Guinea, what a steal. And now that draft exchange looks even sillier with the ladder positions with Collingwood. So what a recruiting year, really, with Choli playing the way he has. Gunston thought, maybe he might only play a few games, but he's been rested and he's contributed massive. So hats off to the Hawks recruitment team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. A few comments in here just regarding Jack Scrimshaw. I think we briefly spoke about him before, but probably haven't spoken about him, enough. So, Peter, I think Scrimshaw, I won't spoil votes because they haven't been published yet, but his name might pop up in my votes tomorrow, so check that out once it gets published. He was probably in the top 2 at halftime, potentially best on at halftime, maybe for Sicily. Probably think Newt gets him, but absolutely incredible. What he's been able to do this year amongst a really solid back six anyway, but he's certainly been a standout. Absolutely superb. And geez, in that first quarter when, they were probably on top for most of it.
Yeah.
Just so many times he was just the last person in and, intercept mark, contested mark, or even just getting it and making it a contest and bringing it to ground. And then hopefully, we were able to get sort of going from there. But I think he played on Jamara, and Jamara hardly touched it. So let's be honest, he never went near the ball all night. Amazing from Scrimmer. The back six all year has, even when we were 0-5, were really good. Scrimmer's been a massive part of that alongside, the rest of them. But yeah, Scrimshaw, honestly, there's probably a few people that I'm going to say this about, but hard to think of a game in the context of what this means, what this game was, first final, since 2018, so young. Has he played a better game? Probably not a more important one.
Yeah, exactly. I think Scrimshaw's improvement this year, I know Daz has talked about it heaps in terms of that back shoulder defense. But yeah, just where he's come from, he had that iffy year in 2023 where he didn't start the year at AFL level, and Mitchie sent him to VFL to improve that type of stuff, and where I'm sure he's grateful for that now, because look at how he's playing at the moment. He'll be featured heavily in our Peter Crimmins medal, I'm sure, as many blokes we've already discussed will. But yeah, what an awesome season for him.
Well, to keeping on that backline theme, we'll move on to Blake Hardwick.
Gave Cody Waitman a bath. A proper bath.
which he's done several times. I think Cody's got off the leash once. But, just played that role to a T, and even supporting his teammates, his second man up, use the ball brilliantly as he does. Just great game.
Whenever Hardwick comes up, I like it because, look, let's be honest, so I sort of give myself a little bit of a pat on the back for some of the Talking Orcs content we did at the end of last year. I think, Lauren, we sat in a match committee with yourself, me, and Daz, and we picked our sides for round one, our round one best side. And my first magnet on the board, my first pick was Blake Hardwick. I just said he's Mr. Consistent. You know what you get from him every week. Is he the best player in the side? No, probably not. But he's arguably one of the most important. Goes to the best sort of small electric defender each week and rarely gets beat. Rarely gets beat.
Yeah.
You know what you're getting from him every time. Obviously, we've swung him around a little bit this year, which has been a really good positive as well. But yeah, first magnet on the board, bang, you're in. See you later. Move on to the next one. And anytime it comes up, I like bringing that up because he's just, you know what you get each week. You know what you get each week from him. He does not get beat.
And then you've got the other players that don't get the kudos as well. Hardwick's one of those. Carl Amon is another one. Often just doesn't get talked about much. He'll rack up his 20 elite touches and just dominate that back line and set up our attack. He had another good game on Friday night, and just the whole back line as a whole has been so good this year.
Yep, Jarman Impey and Carl Amon are two of our most important players, and we saw, Port Adelaide, Kane Farrell and Dan Houston, who will be playing next week. They're kind of like their Impey and Amon in that sense. So imagine us playing without them. That's a big loss for them at the moment. So, just what they bring to this side, consistent. Impey's defensive capabilities as well has improved in leaps and bounds, especially after coming back from that injury. So, I just love those blokes so much. They're so consistent. And how good is it to have, ultra reliable kicks down back? It's so good when we come out of their backline and rebound off their defensive 50. It's going to, most of the time it's going somewhere great. And as Peter said here, a lot of them would have had oodles of meters gains. 600 meters gain is insane. The like we only really see from Sicily in this side. So, for Amon to get up there and do that in a final, love him. Impey as well. Awesome.
Yeah, Daryl summed that up perfectly there. Unsung hero. I was probably at times, and not recently, not this year, probably a little bit last season, but probably more the year before. It was probably a little bit hard on Impey. I wasn't sure. I wasn't quite sold. I probably wasn't the only one, but I was a little bit.
I agree.
He's had some injuries, and coming back from them, I'm not sure. Amongst a lot of the backline this year, he's been enormous, and he's shut me up. He's been awesome this year, and him going up with Amon to have, Lauren, as you said, the kicking ability that we've got coming out of our defense and off our half back line. Sis. Amon, Impey, Scrimshaw, all just lethal users of the ball. You got Massimo that's obviously on a wing, but it's a huge reason as to why our game plan is so successful, because if we don't have such elite ball users coming off half back, we turn it over in horrible parts of the ground. And at stages last year, and certainly in the first 5 rounds, that's what was happening. We just were chewing off probably a little bit too much and not quite executing enough. And then we turned it over and we're way too easy to score against because we're not set up, and it just rebounds really quickly. But now that the game plan is working and they're hitting these kicks, it's just there's just such small windows for these guys to hit them, and they bang lace out, and it's either they're either winning it uncontested or it's at least 1-on-1, and it's just to the races from there.
Not sure what Anth is talking about here. I didn't see anything. Did you boys see something?
I didn't personally.
Nothing from Impey. No, I saw Frosty limp off. Obviously, we know what's happening with him now. But I didn't see anything. I'm with Impey.
All right, we've probably held off for long enough about the Frosty talk.
Yeah, let's go there.
Unwrap that. I think we'll start with the other injuries. Cam McKenzie doing his hammy. I think that's minimum 2 to 3 weeks. I think you're pretty much almost. Look, you give him a little bit of hope to get up, but he's almost season off, I would say. And then you got Will Day, who I also agree is most likely not going to be named. Again, a little bit of hope that he could come back for the last one or two if we do make it that far. But yes, Frosty, yeah, I didn't actually notice it until all the talk was happening. And yeah, geez, news travels quickly. That just spread like fire, didn't it, over the internet? So the official diagnosis was it stress fracture, was it?
Yeah, stress, bone stress in his foot. I did see it. Myself and a few of the people I went to the footy with, we spotted it pretty much straight away. And I just thought he rolled his ankle. Like, I just thought, oh, it's all right. He just got a stick. The trainer came over to him and he waved him off. And he was like, nah, it's okay. He looked a bit sore. And when the news broke tonight, I was devastated because I said, nah, don't worry about it. He just got a stinger. He'll be fine. Like, he's fine. He'll play next week. And then it's come out that he's effectively broken foot. So not good. That's a big out. That's a really big out.
I think if you remember,
who's in career best form.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a linchpin in the defense as well. Like, yeah.
He's probably only gets 10 touches, if that, a game, but plays his role to a T. Sorry to cut you off, Loz.
No, that's all right. I'm just reminding the supporters, if you remember, started this year, Will Day, moon boot, foot stress, didn't want to risk him because it can turn into a foot fracture, a stress fracture in the foot. So I think it's something similar. But yeah, it sounds like he's in the moon boot and just needs some rest. And unfortunately, those injuries are time related. And right now we don't really have the time, unfortunately, to wait for him to come back. So yeah, but here comes the big debate. Who comes in, as Chris said in the chat? We've got Sarong.
Yeah, go for it. Yep.
Yeah, we've got Sarong. Elite VFL form, has been tearing up there for weeks, even, putting on performances that outshine even the likes of, Ward and McGuinness when they were down there, like being best on ground for weeks. 194 centimeters or something. So not massively tall compared to the likes of Phillips, who's our other option here, who's nearly 197, I believe. And yeah, he hasn't been in amazing form at VFL. He's done some good things, that's for sure. But he's, I guess, the more like-for-like option again for Frosty. And the only other time he did play this year was against Port Adelaide. And he didn't do anything wrong, that's for sure. It was just unfortunate that Sicily was out that game. So he came in, and next week Sicily was back. So he got the call up again. But I'm seeing comments for CJ. They will not bring CJ in for Frosty. No way. I'm sorry, but I was one of the strong supporters of not bringing CJ in last week because I saw him play at Box Hill. He didn't really look ready even at that level. Not sure whether he was going to be ready for a final. I mean, CJ at his best, I would love him in this side, but right now he's not at his best. So I'm 99% sure he's off the table. But now we've got to go look forward to the Port side, who do have Charlie Dixon. He played horrifically. Before this news, he would have been first one dropped. Now, what are they going to do? Todd Marshall is also on the sidelines as well to come in, who could replace Dixon. He's about 197, 198, something like that. Ollie Lord, a young kid who's been out of this side, who I think has a lot of potential, but he's another toolie, that high 190s mark. So I think it's all going to be matchup based. Let's go to you, Mitch, first. Who are you? Are you Sarong or are you Phillips?
Probably Sarong, I think. I think you've got to reward some form, especially in a final, a semi-final. Ethan Phillips is pretty green. They're both pretty green, to be fair. But I think you've got to lean towards, okay, who's in the better form? I'm nervous about both, and nothing against them. It's a final, and Frosty plays a very important role down there, especially since we lost Blank. Wouldn't mind if we had Barras this week coming in, to be honest. But anyway, that doesn't work. So, I think you got to reward form. So, in a final, in an important game, you want to go with someone that's red hot, even if it is at a VFL level, and come in and fill the role, and go from there.
Chris?
Yes, we do have two choices, which is a convenient thing to have.
Yeah.
Both have been pretty reasonable form at VFL. I think, as you pointed out, Gyro's probably been the stronger of the two and has probably the better kick, although Phillips has a decent kick as well. Yeah, you wrote off CJ very quickly. I do think he will be discussed as an option. You still got Scrimmer, Sicily, and Weddle as three tools to play on their tools. So I agree with you. It's highly unlikely, but I think it will get discussed at the table.
It could, but I would not sure if that's really the best option. We wouldn't want to be rewarding players who are, not fully fit and don't have that form in the VFL to bring them up yet. But I guess the club do love him, and I love him too. I really rate what he can do when he's fully fit. But just at the moment, it would obviously. I know some comments saying CJ would get monstered playing Frost role. He wouldn't be playing Frost role. He would be. It would be moving Weddle back as that key defender. Scrimshaw on the second tall, etc. But would be maybe that's something they'd bring up. I know they do love him there. But yeah.
Nick's floated the idea of Granger Barras.
Yeah, I think unfortunately DGB in my eyes would be, I love DGB. Love him. We sponsor him here at the Talking Hawks. What an amazing guy he is. But though Phillips and Sarong have been the ones who have been in form at Box Hill, and we want to reward form. I know, and Denver's not that tall. Like he's not 200 centimeters.
We'd still be very short down there. We'd still be very short with Denver. We got a lot of players that are sort of like that sort of role. It looks in the chat, it looks 50-50 on the comments. Probably if we're going with form, we're probably going with Sarong. If we want a bit more size, and it probably a little bit closer, like for like, you'd probably go Phillips. I don't know. I don't know if they, and then the CJ option. Look, if CJ's getting back into this side, this is the only way it happens, because he's not getting in front of Harry Morrison after the weekend, who they were sort of competing for the last spot. So he could be back in, and then have someone else, leave it to the other guys to defend. But I don't know. I think you have to bring it. Like, he's our linchpin in the defense, as you will. I think you have to bring a defender in. I don't think you can, bring CJ in and then try and make it work. I don't know. I think it's one of the two. Chat starting to go towards Phillips, maybe just for size, but it's going to be interesting. It's a tough call, because it's a really, really big out given the role that he plays and how well he's done it this year. But we'll have to see what happens, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. In terms of my opinion, when I first heard the news, I was strongly on Sarong, because I've been an avid watcher of the Box Hill games and I've loved what he's produced down there, really have. But as maybe time goes on and I've listened to what more people have said, if Sarong comes in, I don't think he's going to play key back. I think they'll shift Weddle there. And I don't know if we want to stifle Weddle in the sense by putting him back there, whereas Phillips can kind of more play and share with and swap around with Scrimshaw in terms of, coming on and taking their tallest or their strongest tool forward. So it's absolutely a headache for me. I don't know what they're going to do. It's really going to be all on matchups. If they bring in another tall, if they drop Dixon, like they've got Soldo even playing in the Samful, or not, he's available but not getting AFL games. Could they bring him in as, to play forward? It's hard to know, because our team's going to be named at the same time theirs is, so we can't chop and change. But it's so very tricky call. But as I said at the very start of this stream, same as the Will Day injury last week, we've declared it early and they've got the full week to figure this out and plan around it. And I'm going to back in whoever they pick. If it's Phillips, back him in. If it's wrong, back him in. And that's all we can do as a supporting base. And if you think it's one guy strongly and the other gets picked, you've got to just remove that from your mind at the moment and then just absolutely give them all your support because, yeah, it's a big game to come in and play, especially, for nice and early for these blokes. Like, one of their first, it would be Sarong's first game of the year, right? And then Phillips' second game.
Close to, yeah. We might have played one or two. Yeah, it's not many.
Yeah.
So I think as a trio, we've sort of sat on the fence there. I think we still haven't. It looks like the comments are sort of split as well, though. So
yeah,
look, let's see what happens. Yeah, it's a big hour. I don't think there's not a clear. Okay, well, we'll just bring this person in.
Pros and cons for both.
Yeah, exactly.
And one of our loyal followers, Starmy, has given us a suggestion that we have not considered. Ramsden.
I like Ramsden. I think he's going to be he's got that like forward now, who started as a ruckman, but not at the moment. For Ramsden, he'll be coming into this side over the next few years, but not in the final when this team cohesion is working so well. They won't. I don't think they'll make many changes. I would be surprised if it's more than one this week. I think it'll just be Frost out and either Sarong or Phillips in. And speaking of next week, Bruce 300th. We can't make him sub in his 300th, can we? I know Sam Mitchell's not. Bruce is probably not going to care about it either, but I don't know. It's worked well for us, Bruce's sub, but yeah.
He's been like the super sub for the year. It's almost like it's fitting in context. It's still his 300th game, and Brucey will understand more than anyone if that's the recipe to go for.
Yeah.
It's a final. Like you put. Granted, he's in our best side for sure, but if he's going to be the option as a sub, then it's still his 300th game. He's still playing, and it's still a final. And if we win, we're into a prelim. So I don't think he's gonna mind too much, and I don't know who does a sub otherwise.
Well, yeah, I would think maybe a McGuinness or something like that, but I don't know. It has worked really well, and as you said, Mitchell's not going to be thinking about the story and the fairy tale of not starting sub, and Bruce is probably not going to care that much about whether he's sub or not in his 300th. So I know a few people saying Gunston sub. I thought that initially, but then when you think about it, we can't be going that small into our forward line. Like we can't be having Watson, C-Mac, Moore, Bruce, all of those boys down there. Someone else I forgot, but yeah, makes it a little bit tricky. I know that their backlines got decimated by the Geelong Smalls last week, but I think it's just one too many Smalls. But even playing Bruce and Gunston at the same time is also another conversation that, we love our speed in that forward line. So I don't know if we want to sacrifice that a little bit by bringing Gunston and Bruce in playing at the same time. But yeah, I mean, it would be fitting if Bruce came on in the last quarter. We were already 50, 60 points up, and all we had to do for the last quarter was ensure he got a goal.
Yeah. Chris, does he start?
Yeah, he didn't disappoint. Again, I just knew come on with what it might have been a bit more than 10 minutes. Did he play the full last quarter? But anyway, every time he's come on a sub, he's kicked a goal. I'm not against it, but the fact he did start sub, and I think he did it 4 or 5 times in a row during the season, which you can't just keep giving him a quarter or a half. But I wouldn't say it's not going to happen. It may depend on who they bring in. But you want me to make a decision? I'm going to say he starts.
Mm-hmm. Nice. I think I assume that we've touched on this. It was probably before I jumped on. Surely we've talked about Wiz and Dia.
Yes, they're our first two that we touched on.
I'm glad because I was like, hang on a minute, we haven't talked about the 2 19-year-olds that just tore it to shreds, but must have been before I jumped on.
Yeah, absolutely. If anyone else in the comments is thinking the same, once we wrap it up, feel free to go back to the start where we did give a nice spiel on those two superstars that are playing in our forward line at the moment and roast the occasion like no other.
I think this is a good point, especially considering he's played as the sub for most of the year. Look, if he starts, he's probably the one that gets subbed off. They have been rotating Gunston and Bruce. Gunston got subbed off this week. They've been rotating them as, the one starts, one comes off. So if he does start, I probably wouldn't expect him to play a full game unless, God forbid, unless there's injuries. And we're forced to make that sub earlier than we need to, which hopefully that's not an issue. But I think, I've just seen something, Chris, as well, who's pointed it out perfectly in the comments that, Mitchell's not going to select on a sense of occasion. As I said before, it's going to be what's the formula to win the game. At the end of the day, it's still his throwing game, whether he starts on the ground or he starts on the pine. I think, it'll either way, it's his 300th game and we win, we're into a prelim and going to Sydney. So if he starts, cool. If he doesn't, cool. As long as we win.
Yeah. I've just saw
one more time for anybody wanting to get to Adelaide via bus. I'll leave it running. Keep going, Loz.
You're on today, Chris.
I want that bus filled so I can go.
Yeah. So sorry, I just seeing a few tweets come through now that Tom Morris has discussed on his Sunday Night Footy show that he is saying Phillips is favourite to come and replace Frosty. So obviously it's a long week ahead. That can change, and I'm sure it'll come down to how they go at training and what they think. What they think they're going to play, how their forward line's going to be structured, and who we need. But last time we played Port. We made that crucial error in that last quarter of not trying to take the game on, which they will never make again. I promise you that. So don't be worried about that. But we didn't have Sicily, and up until that third, fourth quarter, we looked way above them. So, and we've played decently well at Adelaide Oval all year. No, we've only had the one win, but two extremely close losses there. So I think we've got every chance to get this win. And,
I like that, Con. That's very good. Very good.
Yeah, exactly. So as I said, we've got every chance to win this game on the weekend and put ourselves in a prelim.
We will win. We will win.
Yeah,
it's going to happen. We're going to go to Port, we're going to win, and then we're going to go to Sydney, we're going to beat them, and then whoever makes it through on that other side, they're losing at the G Grand final day. And it'll
Geelong?
be the best day. It'll be, if it's Geelong, I hope we win, because if we don't,
yes. Oh my gosh.
We may never hear from me again. I won't get a handle a Geelong loss.
I'm the same. I'm absolutely the same. So hopefully whoever's on that, if we do get there, whoever's on that side, which I think it'll be GWS versus Brisbane. So I would assume GWS are favourites in that case. GWS get the job done, anyways. And I would back us in against GWS at the MCG. But anyways, not getting ahead of ourselves. We've got to get this on the weekend. It's very easy to get ahead of yourselves.
Get on the train, 3 wins. And it'll be the best flag that anyone's ever won in the history of footy.
That's true. And Kane Corns will have to get a tattoo. So many positives if we win this grand final. But let's get your last comments, last thoughts on the game this weekend and on next week's game, because we have hit over an hour, which I think is nearly one of our longest here, definitely our longest for this year. So thank you everyone for showing up. Make sure to subscribe, all that stuff, because we will review the game next week like we did today, probably on Sunday again. Win or loss, we will be showing up, that's for sure. So come and chat with us then. So make sure, as I said, subscribe so you can join us next week, and follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, all of that good stuff. So final thoughts, and let's get a few tips in for the game against Port. Let's go around the circle. I'll start, let's say, Hawthorn by 28.
Chris?
I'm pretty confident. I'm going to go 36 points. 36.3.
All right. Well, hopefully I'm the closest again, like the crowd guessed, Chris, and I'm going to go Hawks by 62.
Woo!
Yeah. They're too slow.
Yep, exactly. There will be some sort of a response, I'm sure, from Port after they're going to be smashing the media all week. I promise you that. So, but it is Port in a final, and they're serial chokers in finals.
Don't put the moth on us, Lauren.
Well,
let's not use the choking word. They're going to come out breathing fire this week, Port. I just don't think it's going to be enough. We'll see how we go. But
we've got Butters as well, who will be sore. I'm 99% sure he will play because he doesn't have any structural damage. But whoa, Nigel, what the heck? Butters, I saw a few comments about him. He should probably play with no structural damage, but wouldn't mind seeing, big Nash tackle or big Newcomb tackle on him in the first centre bounce. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good game. And yeah, we're riding on momentum at the moment and hasn't stopped us yet. So let's go. Let's get it done up in the Loud House. That we can turn into a Hawks Loud House.
3 to go. 3 to go. Starts with Port Adelaide. Then 2 to go. 3 to go.
Can people stop predicting that we're going to win by 1 point or a kick after the siren or an extra time? I would not be able to deal with that. It's going to be so hard if that happens. Oh my goodness! And I unfortunately won't be able to make it to the game, so I'll be watching at home. Last time we played them, lost by a point with 10 seconds to go on my 21st birthday. So please, let's make sure that doesn't go in vain. That loss. Let's get it done again.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty confident, and you can't get ahead of ourselves, but it's going to be a big ask the next week up in Sydney, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Sydney. I mean, they are the comeback champs, and we've had a few issues with letting teams come back against us in the last quarter. So let's not talk about that. Let's leave that till next week because we've got a big match. It'll be Friday night. I think it's confirmed to be 7:30.
Dude, what about one side each? Then it's brown and gold almost.
If we win the flag, I will do that. I'll go one brown and one blonde. I promise.
I'm holding you to that.
That will happen. That will happen if we win the flag. Absolutely. All right. So I think we will wrap it up there. Bruce 300, a semi-final against a side where we're going in favourites. Let's get it done, shall we? And get around them, boys. As I said, no matter who gets selected this week, we got to go. Got to back them in. And yeah, I'm supremely confident if we play like we have been the last couple of months, we can get it done. Any last comments, boys, before we head off?
Chris?
Sorry, I'm just enjoying this chat and trying to keep up with the comments. Thanks, guys. You've been great all night. Catch that bus. Get that bus full so I can get to Adelaide, please.
Yeah, come on. Let's get as many as we can down there.
That's what I was going to say, Chris. I was going to say get the bus full so Chris can go to Adelaide. I would love to be going, but unfortunately too many work commitments on the weekend, but that's okay. Shane, Hawks in extra time with a high tackle on Ginnivan. Hey. I tell you what, as long as we win, but I don't know if I could handle the nerves of that. But hey, if we win, we win. Percentage doesn't matter in finals as long as you get the chocolates. So
thanks, Terry. Anyone available? Training on Wednesday.
Absolutely. Yep. Go Hawks. Back them in. Let's start with Port, and then there's 2 to go. See how far we can go.
Yeah, that's the mentality Mitchell has been driving for the last, 8 weeks. We just got to keep going. We've got, I think he talked about before the Richmond game, 6 more wins, and we've won the grand final. So doesn't sound that hard when you put it like that, but it's going to be tricky. But they can.
If you look at it since round 9, we're clearly the best team in the comp. It's easy to look at it in isolation. You can look at stats to suit most teams and handpick stuff to make it look good. But if you look at it objectively, we are the best side in the comp quite easily since round 9. So, yeah, okay, there could be a little bit of an argument that we're overachieving and that we're just riding the wave. But if there was ever a year to pinch one, and again, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves and all that, but if there was ever a year to pinch one, why can't we? Why can't we? So
besides Sydney, who was a bit of a standout, but then they've dropped the ball a little bit. Yeah, it's the openest race, and why not steal it?
And we just got to get it right this month. And Jeff said it. It's been a great year no matter what. And if we lose next week, massive tick, massive tick, massive tick. If we win next week and lose to Sydney, massive tick, massive tick. If we get to the granny and lose, massive tick. If we get to the granny and win, I'm not coming home for a week.
Yeah, I think
Both of us, mate.
yeah, I think that's probably the note we should end on, is that no matter what happens this week, we've already absolutely surpassed expectations for us. And also just as Hawk supporters, enjoy this week, consume the media that's, touting us, talking us up, because haven't had it in a while. And, when Kane Corns a long time ago said we were irrelevant, he was right. Like, we weren't getting talked about in the league at all. No one would discuss us. It's just their bottom four and that's it. And now here we go. And we're in, we've won our first final in a very long time. And yeah, we've got a chance to play and win another. So enjoy the ride, because it's been so fun, so amazing already. And yeah, I mean, it can only get better from here.
No limits. That's it.
No limits. Exactly.
Yeah,
right.
no limits. What a spot to end this on. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in tonight. Thank you for all the comments. We've had so much fun. I mean, we've been here for an hour and 10 minutes. Everyone's been chatting it up in the comments. Make sure to keep engaging with us all week, and no limits. Let's get this done, boys.
6 points will most likely drop tomorrow with the MVP. Timmy's got a player interview, which will probably drop Tuesday. So, like you said, keep on all the socials, follow us, give us the likes. Thanks for your support tonight. Anything else, Mitch, before Loz wraps us up?
Go the Hawks.
Go the Hawks, exactly. Cool.